Would you mind sharing when and where you were born?
I was born October 3rd, 1996 in Taipei, Taiwan.
All right. How would you describe the neighborhood that you grew up in?
The neighborhood is definitely more like the equivalent of suburb, but Taiwan is very relative small island, so we all live in apartment. There's
Mhm.
no such thing as single house, so people are really close to each other. Um, it's kind of like a suburban life, but like everything's within walking distance. So
Mhm.
no driving is needed, right? Public transportation is very um accessible. It's very safe growing up, you know.
What is an early memory that you have growing up in Taipei?
So for me personally, my mom's side of the family is coming from the middle part of Taiwan, which is a lot of farm work.
Mhm.
So my mom's family is actually farmers, and my dad's is kind of like from the city, right? He has business. Our dad's side of the family runs business in Taiwan, and then they got married. When I grow up, I have this hybrid of experiences. So during the Chinese New Year, during the summer, I will go to my grandma's house in the south. We call it the south, but it's like the middle part of Taiwan, right? And I'll experience like foreign life. There's no TV, there's no cable. You just ride bikes, and we have guava in my own for our farm. We do guava in the trees, so I would just harvest guava and you know harvest seeds and trees and stuff like that during the summer and during the Chinese New Year. My mom's very traditional, so I all the like superstitious stuff, all the Chinese tradition, I know all that, right? My mom was just taking me to temple and do shit. Um, my
Do you
city life is very
ever?
much of like regular kids go to school, everything. It's Yeah, so it's kind of this hybrid of experiences. Not a lot of people have this kind of experiences, and then so in our national language is Chinese Mandarin.
Mhm.
But if you are from the south, if your parents are one of the parents is from the south, and the south means like farmers, right? You will learn to speak Taiwanese.
Oh,
So not everybody from the city. So for the city boys, they don't know how to speak Taiwanese, right? And then you're from the country, you will know how to speak Taiwanese, and that's like we call real. Uh, if you're a real Taiwanese, you need to know how to speak it.
yeah.
Um, but the history of speaking Taiwanese is like it when Japan colonized us, they
Mhm.
thought of that the Taiwanese is kind of like a savage language or like a poor people languages. It has those images of associate with it. It's more like poor working class people speak Taiwanese, right?
Mhm.
And I mean, my mom's from the farm, so you know, till now she still speak to me in Taiwanese. I understand it. It's hard for me to say it. It's quite challenging. It's been a while, but um, not everybody from the city speak Taiwanese. So that's another layer of identity. If
Yeah.
you're from the city, you're pretty modern. You're pretty, you have internet, everything. You're in touch with the world, everything. But if you have experience like me, it's kind of like I grew up in a farm speaking Taiwanese. It's like doing very foreign life. Not a lot of young kids from the city has that, and it's crazy how like I told my mom this all the time. Like, hey, you're like literally a farmer. You raise your son, and your son's able to come to America, speak English, go to college. You should be really proud. Because
Yeah.
there is culture in Taiwan that there's famous like rapper, they speak English and Taiwanese, no Mandarin, no Chinese, and then you know that they're raised by their grandma, but they're being brought to America, raised in here.
Yeah.
Very similar idea. They are raised like poor, but like somehow they're successful in America because they made it. Kind
Yeah.
of like my story too. But how I have this hybrid, this different uh story when I grow up.
Mhm.
So it's very
And
different.
so you mentioned you. your mom and your dad. Do you have any siblings? Like, could you tell me a little bit more about your family, like family dynamics, like growing up?
Yeah, so I have one younger sister and one younger brother. I'm the oldest,
Oh, okay.
and then we both moved here when I was 11. So
Here in San Francisco?
we moved to Fresno,
Fresno. Okay. So
right?
you're up until you were 11 in Taiwan?
Actually, sorry, I take it back. I've been in America for 11 years. So we
Oh,
moved
okay.
here. I was 15, and my sister was maybe like 13, and my brother was like 9,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, when you refer in growing up, do you refer growing up in Taiwan or you refer growing up in US? Because it's different. It's very my background is like so hybrid. It's like I
Mhm.
grew up here, I also grew up in Taiwan. Like you
Yeah,
know,
do you mind sharing your experience in Taiwan? And you can also like, if you want,
right,
compare that to your like coming to Fresno at
right.
15.
Well, definitely, I what I most remember is kind of like, of course, I just share a little bit about farm life. The
Mhm.
school life is very much of like you stay in the same class, you have the same classmate, you you go to class. If you're just a little kid, you have after school, so you go to like your regular class and you go to after school just to learn extra stuff.
Mhm.
It's kind of like a babysitting, like babysitting, but like also a school, I guess, during my elementary school. So when we were little as kid, if you come from the city, you everyone go to school and then go to like a cram school after that, and you hang out there, you do your homework there, kind of stuff. So you meet a lot of friends. I have two different set of friends. I have friend in school in the
Mhm.
same class, another set of friends school like we go to after school, and then you we hang out so much just in a school setting, right? It's almost like when you get home, it's already 7 or 8, depending on our parents. Some parents work very late. They
Mhm.
just come from work, pick up their kids, right? So most of the time, at least from elementary school up to middle school, because that was my experience, most of the time you spend a lot of time in school.
How long did they like last for? Like, what's the latest someone can get picked up from like the after
I
school?
think when I was in middle school, last class, middle just the school, not after school, just middle school, last class was like 7 or 8.
Oh,
And sometimes even like after school, it's like 10.
and this was middle
Because
school?
the education system here in Taiwan is when you're in middle school, you have to take like SAT class,
Hmm.
SAT exam to go to high school already. So you know how in US it's more like, okay, you go to college, that's when you take SAT from high school to college. But in Taiwan it's earlier. Middle school, you already prepare a similar exam that will decide what high school you're gonna go. So middle school is the time that you really spend a lot of time doing school. I think there's very similar experiences for like Korea and Japan. Like their school and after school just like very like dictate your life, right? But it's crazy because I heard story in like after when you get into college, that's when you have fun. You
And
don't have fun as a kid, you go to college to have fun. But in America, it's reverse, right? So it's kind of like, all right, you have fun, but when you go to college, you gotta be serious because then you're gonna be adults. So you see the difference
yeah.
in growing up in Taiwan. I was just referring to the school system and
Mhm.
here, right? And then, of course, like you said, when I was in Fresno, I get out at 2 in high school. I'm like, oh, what the fuck do I do after 2? Like, that's very early.
Yeah.
And but by the time I don't speak English, so like learning English, it was like a big challenging for me in the very beginning of the years. I mean, even now I'm still learning English after 11 years. So
And going back to your friends, like back in elementary and like even middle school, like did you like was there like a time where you could play like with them or
oh
like
yeah, oh
yeah.
yeah, we have this like Wednesday thing or like a weekly thing that our we will like go to play in the playground. But then when I was growing up, it's like we play in the playground, like we chase each other,
Mhm.
like like red light, green light, like Squid Games kind type of stuff. There's no, I didn't have my phone until like um like high school. Like not until now, iPhone. Like my
Mm.
middle school is like flip phone, right? Because I guess like I'm a little older, so when I was growing up, we played toys. We have like cards. We have like actual toys, stuff like cars, little thing we play. And you can bring your toys to after school if you
Oh.
finish your homework. So you can play, you can get some little time and play with other guys. Or like you just go out there and run. Like we run a whole bunch, that's what we do. If when we have no technology.
Mhm.
And yeah, there is time to play, but like school definitely, it's more like a place you do your homework, like
Yeah.
after school, and that's like a place you also hang out with another set of friends. Because it's funny, like the school system is like you get your own class and you stick with them, the like about 36 classmates, the same for 2 years. But
Oh.
when you go to after school, it's like, all right, you're from class one, you're from class two, and it's like total 20 class, and you have random people coming from random class. So you're like, all right, you're from there, I'm from there. Now you go to after school, you're like, everybody in different class. You're like, okay, you're from there, you're from there, you're from there. So you
Oh.
start branching out. You start branching out. You're like, all right, okay, I know you, but you're friends in that class too. So let's introduce
Okay.
stuff.
And then beyond the classroom, like did you see them at all, or just you said you had your separate friends? Did you have like time like beyond school to like do other things?
Hang out on the
Yeah, like
weekend.
hang out. Yeah.
When I was little, we didn't hang out like a lot because
Mm.
we spent so much time
Yeah, that makes sense.
together at school. Like you spend like a whole day with your crush, if you want to say, right? If you like a girl, you literally got like 8 hour day, like nine, like what 7 to 5. That's a lot of time you hang out with somebody, right?
Yeah, it
It's
is.
really like somebody. Um, so yeah, you do get a lot of time hanging out with them. You play, and you almost like just see them every day. It's like going to work, like you see your coworker, but it's like every day you go see your friend. It's actually fun.
Oh,
Okay, it's fun.
okay.
Yeah, it's fun. And on the weekend, like of course we'll go see the movie. I think like I remember we'll go see a movie, but sometimes there's like even class on weekend. So
Oh.
you just like hang out and do homework together, like what you guys do in college.
Mhm.
But you do it when you're little.
And you like that?
Yeah.
You prefer that?
Huh?
I said, did you prefer that?
Ah, it's easier to stay connected.
That's true. And are
I
you
think.
still in contact with your childhood friends? Like,
Yes, I still have my friend from, I mean, like you have photo like right there.
oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Like just like there, like, I know them like for like almost 20 years. Um, yes, we still stay in contact. I mean, I haven't been back to Taiwan for like almost 4 years now. I went to military too.
Oh,
We can talk about that.
did-
But yeah, we stay in contact. It's like a lifelong friend. Like you spend
Mhm.
so much time together. You're like, all right, I moved to United States for like 11 years, but I come back, we still hang out.
Oh.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned you have your siblings. Like, what was your relationship with your siblings?
Me and my sister is, I'm definitely the annoying brother. My sister just want to be on her own, but I will go to her room and like closing her laptop shit. I'll do that. I'll be like, hey, what are you doing? Nothing.
Your
Okay.
sibling
But
thing.
like my sister is very independent. She's like always want to do her thing.
Mhm.
She's a middle child, so I feel like middle child really don't get a lot of attention. She's very rebellion, definitely. When I was little, we will play together, but I mostly play with my cousin because he's another guy,
Oh, okay.
right? He's like live downstairs from me, so we just play toys together. And my sister, usually I just like go hit her. I just do all the brother in the world do the same exact thing. Doesn't matter which part of the world you come from. You go to your sister, you're like, "Hey, what are you doing? Nothing. All right, good." I do that. I think all the brother in the world does that. Um,
Yeah, my brother said
yes,
that to me. I'm the youngest, so
yeah. I was just going like, "Hey, you're doing nothing? Okay, good." I I
interesting.
go wake her up in the morning if I wake up earlier, I'll
Mhm.
just like pull her sheet. I'm like,
Okay.
wake up.
Well,
I'll
talking
make
about
you.
family, like were there certain values or rules that were like instilled in you and your sister?
Yes, I'm glad that you asked. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, I think being an oldest son
Hmm.
in our culture give us a huge pressure. It's kind of like you're carrying your family name, right? And especially me coming to it as an immigrant, that's like even more.
Hmm.
But as an oldest son in, I would say, Chinese family, you're like an example, right? So my parents would be like, okay, hey, hey, Kevin, you got to do well because your siblings looking after you, right? Whatever you do, your brother, your sister is gonna ask you question because you are gonna be the one do it first, and then they're gonna come after you to ask you questions. So you're kind of like a trailblazer,
Hmm.
right? Everything. So and that happened even more while in America because my parents is not able to really parenting because they don't speak English, right? I am kind of had to be the parents for my siblings. So there's definitely a lot of pressure and culturally
Hmm.
um you are expect to carry your family's name. So you are expect to be very responsible. And I think I see a lot of oldest son, they just very responsible. And then they just have this internal pressure to do more and just like, hey, I need to be able to do this and I don't give up. A lot of time, and I was just talking to my friend about this earlier too, is like that pressure give me a drive to be successful in America. And that transition because I hold on to that for a very long time, even until today. I'm the oldest son. I can't give up. Like, there's no option for me to just say I don't want to do this, right?
Yeah.
But I see my sibling, and I'm especially my brother. He's not as hardworking, right? It's more like he come here when he's on second grade, so he's like whatever, right? I told him, hey, you need to work hard because in America it's not that easy to survive out here. But like he's like whatever. But for me, it's like no, there's no other option. It's just
Hmm.
success or only success. That's why I'm an engineer, and that's why I really push myself. My parents didn't even need to push me. Like my parents never say that, oh, you need to be lawyer, doctor, engineer. I choose this path myself because like, hey, I need to be able to look after my siblings, right?
Okay.
And it's almost like my parents are also depending on me. I feel like a lot of immigrants family are exactly the same thing. Doesn't matter you're from Asia or like Latin America. The oldest kids are usually the translator. They read all the document. They do everything. They just forced to. And then on top of the culture thing, you just expected to do it. Like no question, right?
Hmm. So at home, like what you said you spoke Taiwanese and
Yes.
Mandarin? And this was your friends also you said you went to a school with they also spoke Taiwanese?
Not everyone speaks Taiwanese. Taiwanese is very like only if you grow up with your grandma, almost.
Oh, okay.
So there's like I guess there's a generation where after that you're not allowed to speak. I think it's when Japanese come and colonize us, it's
Hmm.
kind of like no more.
Oh,
So
okay.
there's definitely a generation that was cut off, right? Because
Yeah.
there were times that you're not allowed to speak Taiwanese anymore in school when they were like during World War One and World War Two. So
Right.
after that, especially most of the young people nowadays, they don't speak Taiwanese at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, okay, another question. Is there any like particularly challenging memory that you would like to share from your time?
Um, in Taiwan, I think the hardest memory is when I moved. from Taiwan to here.
Mm.
That's literally the one of the hardest time in my life, right?
Mhm.
So I guess just adopting American life is like language difference, culture difference. Now even today I'm still learning, but it was very hard for me to go from zero because like when I come here, the textbook English was so thick. I open it on first page, I don't know any words. So
Mhm.
imagine going from there, I write out every single word I don't know, and then until like now I got accepted to UC Davis and be able to complete and get my engineering degree. I think the past 11 years of my life, the very first three, when I was in high school, it's like very hard because I
Mhm.
need to learn English and on top of that schooling. And then my mindset during that time is kind of like this is my only chance to succeed in America. There's that American dream,
Mhm.
definitely, and there's also that pressure from me expecting myself to do well,
Yeah.
right? And I don't know if that's culturally coming from within me because my parents are not like having pressure on me. My parents like do what the best you can do, but it's okay if you can't, right? Don't force yourself. But like something within myself is like, hey, there's no going back. There's no giving up, right?
Yeah.
I I need to do this. There's no choice to plan A. That's it. And that's how I was able to stay driven and motivated. Even today, I'm like, oh my god, I'm the oldest son. I cannot let everybody down. So it's like I don't want to bring shame to my family. Like my life. I don't want to bring shame.
Yeah, I understand.
Type of the feeling. Yeah.
And I know you said you're engineering now. Oh, fascinating.
Yes.
Was this like when you were young, did you imagine this career like for your future, or has that changed in any way? Like, or was it always engineering for you?
It definitely change. When I was in Taiwan,
Mhm.
I'd probably be like actor or something. Entertain. I like entertaining. I like stuff like that.
Mhm.
Being engineer, only reason I choose engineering because I'm good at math. When I come here, math is so easy. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna play my strong suit. I'm not gonna go to become a lawyer if I'm bad English during the time when I was in high school, right?
Mhm.
Almost like you kind of just narrow down. All right, what do I do the best in math? All right, let's just do something stable. But I feel like there's definitely the influence of how Asian culture is more like you need to choose a very stable job. Like your parents will tell you, be a nurse or something, be an accountant, be an engineer. Like, and I just kind of narrowed down to like the few options. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, engineering.
Mm.
You know,
All right. Do you have any like special foods that remind you of home or that have a special place in your heart?
special food.
Yeah, food.
Yeah.
Lighter note, we're moving to food.
So, so I love beef noodle soup.
Mm.
Beef noodle soup is our national dishes. Like every corner you can find it, and my mom will make it too. So every time I know how to make it too right now because I had to make it here in America, right? So whenever I have that, I just like wow, I'm just like bring me back, bring me back to the street vendor sitting eating the beef noodles, sweating because in Taiwan super hot, super humid. You eat and super spicy too, and you're like, and you sweat while you eat it, but it's really good. That's definitely one of the food that bring me back. I still make it.
Oh, beef noodles.
National dishes, everybody knows. It's like
That sounds
it's
delicious.
like it's like hamburger, right? It's like in and out. Like people here, they go to get like fast food,
Uh-huh.
but our fast food beef noodle soup is like downstairs. You go get it like $3. It's like $3 US. It's like and really quick, right? Fast food is quick. Like beef noodles super quick. You go in there, you eat, you get out. Like
Okay. So, what feelings or words come to mind when you remember your childhood in
my
Taiwan?
childhood.
Yeah.
I think my childhood is very I would say unique because I don't think a lot of people have this hybrid of experience like city and farm,
Yeah.
and also immigrant, being an immigrant. So all of that give me a lot of perspective in life. So I look at I look at America. So it's I feel like a lot of American think America is like the best country in the world and stuff like that. But I think a lot of immigrants come into America, they were able to kind of separate themselves or look at the world in a third person perspective. It's kind of like they in the sky, they're just observing. Um, I came from a different system, different lifestyle, right? There's a farm style. People are happy there. There's people living in the city, they enjoy a lot of different entertainment in the city, right? And there's people who live in America, and of course, I moved around in America. I was in Fresno, I went Davis, and now I'm in the Bay. So I'm being not I wouldn't say everywhere. The world is pretty big, but having this hybrid experience really just give you a very open-minded view about the world. To
So,
answer your
no,
sorry,
yeah.
what was your question?
Yeah, you answered it pretty well. I said, what feelings or words come to mind when you remember your childhood in Taiwan?
In Taiwan.
Yeah.
Oh,
But I mean, you can talk about, I mean, that's still part of your childhood. You moved when you were
right.
15.
It's just very hybrid. And
Mhm,
then if I want to talk about it's even more hybrid if because in Taiwan, everybody growing in Taiwan knows that we have this blend of culture, internal food. Like we have Japanese food, Korean food, Chinese food, all that stuff.
mhm,
So it's just like a melting pot. It's kind of like a melting pot of food, but you
mhm,
kind of America is a melting pot of people. So you're like, wow, it's just like this a lot. And so that childhood made me kind of like become very well versed in different culture. I always want to learn, right?
mhm.
That has a lot of influence on me too. Like even today, like I take salsa class, I learn Spanish. I do a lot of different culture stuff. I'm just curious. And
Yeah.
then growing up in Taiwan, I think everybody you met like is from Taiwan. They always give you like very welcoming vibe. They're just very like warm. We're just like not very harmful. Like our country is a very very safe place, and people are just very nice to people. Like we're just very welcoming. Um, yeah. I mean, I'm from the south. Like if if people are from the south, they'll get, like ask a stranger to come eat with them. Like we don't say how are you doing. We ask like have you eat yet?
Oh, that's so sweet.
That's how we greet like in the south, right? In Taiwanese, we just have you eat like do you want to eat some fruits? So it's very like accepting, welcoming stuff. Like I grew up in that. I grew up in the city where people move really fast. I come to America, you know how America is.
Mhm.
You just I don't know. Sometimes I have even identity crisis. I don't know who I am. But I'm just living. Yes.
So if you could tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
If I can tell my younger self one. Try more things.
Mm,
Because I feel like I'm trying a lot of different things. Here now, I'm 26. Well, I
mhm,
don't get to try once little. Maybe when we're little, our education system is very structured. You'll expect to follow a path or track or like the schedule. Same education system you can find in Japan, Korea. They are very intensive on the schooling, right? So it's just do school, right? The grades that you have decide what you're gonna be in the future. um I don't have that much luxury to try this much thing when I was in my childhood. Um until I moved to America, I said, wow, there's a lot of time, people have different hobby, they value student differently. And of course it's not like I can change this education system in Taiwan, but if I can go back in time and tell myself, hey, just try things. Like the world is so big, like after I come to America, then I realized the world is really big because we're a little island, and
mhm,
then we are in the homogeneous people. Everybody here is Taiwanese. I've never seen a foreigner ever. Right? It's like everyone's Taiwanese. But now you come to this different world. It's like, oh my god, everybody look different. Everybody speak different languages. Like, what's going on? Like, there's so much out there, right? So
mhm,
I'll give this advice to everybody in Taiwan too. world is very big. I hope everybody goes see the world. There's a lot of things to try and a lot of things to learn. And then our little island is beautiful, but like it kind of limit your imagination,
Mhm.
right? And I think that's a big issue. Not a big issue, but like a perspective, philosophies thing for the young people on Taiwan. Like go explore. Yeah,
Wise words.
yeah.
And is there anything else that you would like to share that we didn't talk about or that I didn't ask?
I was wondering. I guess I want to ask the question of like the study. Is the study major focus on the childhood or the experience? Is there anything that is very focused on so I can share more?
I think it's with both your childhood, your experiences,
Right.
it's like however you
I,
interpret it. I think you
I
answered
mean, if,
that question really well. So it's whatever if you want to share something else about your experience.
right. I I'm trying to like it gets so broad, right? So I'm like, oh, how do I where do I go? If I have answered the question well, and I think if those answers satisfies what you guys are looking for, I think we're good. Unless you have very specific question, because like my memory pool is really big, and you had to kind of like ask the question to make me think. It's hard to me just to share like,
Yeah.
like there's a lot going on. Um, but yeah, I think, and then this is not just for people who come from Taiwan. I think I also represent immigrants, but
Hmm.
immigrant from Taiwan. Um, I think that we are already kind of like because we're colonized by a lot of different cultures, so we grow up seeing diverse food,
Hmm.
not people, right? So coming from America is definitely a huge shock. I never seen this much people. Like everybody in the world is here,
Hmm.
so that was interesting transition. Definitely, I guess one big thing for me to get to myself here today is like what you mentioned, like that value of being an oldest son is like that pressure is so huge. It kind of drive me, keep me wake up Monday every Monday. Like, oh my god, I'm my oldest son. I gotta. I have no option but do this. I can't. You can't give up. And I don't know how to emphasize enough like how much pressure that is. I also talked with my other immigrant friend. They're also maybe Chinese or they're Asian. Their
Hmm.
oldest kids in the family doesn't. They probably girls, not guys. I feel guys get even more because guys are you're a guy. Like, our traditional values that you're guys. You gotta carry it away. Woman, not so much. But like us oldest kids, they really just felt that pressure, and then I don't know how to describe it in a word, but it's like that drive us. It can be a positive thing or a negative thing. It can be good that it drive us, but it can also be like this huge responsibility or like this huge expectation, almost close to professionalism, perfection, perfect professionalism.
Hmm.
Like I think a lot of Asian American immigrant kids, they have this mental professionalism. Everything had to be perfect because this pressure they put on themselves could come from their parents, can come from how they grow up, and then they kind of suffer from that actually. Like they have anxiety and stuff like that. But it's good. It's like a double-edged sword. It drive us, but it also like put us down because we're not perfect, and it's like yeah, that's definitely a big thing I see across the board. Doesn't matter if they're from Taiwan or from different part of Asia.
Hmm.
Yes.